pretty sure he hasn't sent me an email, and then I realised it was on Twitter.
That's a Twitter link.
You good?
Ah, I'm good, buddy. I am feeling good. Victory Monday. I'm on one today. After all the trash talk all week, after hearing everything all season, I'm feeling real good today. I got no complaints. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Faithful One-on-One podcast. I am your host, Mr. Ty Alston. And joining me today is a man who really needs no introduction. It's Mr. Paul Hope, all the way from the UK. Paul, how you doing, buddy?
I appreciate that introduction. I still feel a bit humbled that the content creators like yourself are aware of who I am and give me the time of day. And on Victory Monday, I'm very
Victory
happy
Monday.
today.
Oh, it's a happy day indeed. You got to be pumped. You got to be pumped. All right. We're going to get into Victory Monday in a minute. But first, I need a little background on you. I like to get to know people, And first and foremost, how'd you become a 49er fan?
So my journey began in 2011, 2012 season. So a colleague was a Chicago Bears fan, and he'd been on at me to watch this a wonderful game of American football. And I was a little bit resistant because obviously living in England, soccer is our main sport. But I was falling out of love with that, and I was looking for somewhere else to direct my energy. And I remember it was a Monday night game. We played the Bears, and it was Kaepernick's first start after the Alex Smith concussion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? I'm going to give this a go. So I stayed up Monday Night Football. I didn't have a clue what was going on. I didn't understand why they were celebrating sacking the quarterback or what third and long meant. But when I was walking to work the next day, there was a local sports shop in our shopping mall, and it had half-price sale on Niners hats. And I thought, I'm going to get one of these. So I stuck my Niners hat on.
Yeah.
And I walked into the office after we'd beaten the Bears, and my colleague was high-fiving me, and he was like, I'm made up that you've chosen to follow, the 49ers. You've got your team. And from then, never missed a game. So then I've immersed myself fully into the football. So when you think now, I had a conversation with my boss this morning. She was asking about the England in the World Cup. And I was like, didn't watch it. She was like, what do you mean you didn't watch it? I went, it's NFL Sunday in my house. Said we had the Miami Dolphins coming to town. So it just goes to show the journey's complete now. I don't watch any other sports. I dipped my toe into the NBA last year, and I hung my hat on the Golden State Warriors, but I can't claim any kind of kudos for being a long-time supporter. With being in the Bay Area, and I'm hoping to get out there very shortly, I thought it made sense. But that's my journey as a 49ers fan.
Yeah, well, that was a good time to join. That 2011-2012 team, that was a special team. Who was your favorite player from that squad?
So Kaepernick was my first love. So Kaepernick was the jersey that I bought. I fully fell in love with this mobile quarterback. And I have a good friend who's a Packers fan. So when we destroyed them in the playoffs, that's still one of my favorites. I still get the goosebumps now when I see him roll out the pocket and just take it to the house. So over time, I started to get more involved in the game. Joe Staley from that team. I loved his character on and off the field. I loved watching the brick by brick, the documentaries behind there. I was a massive Harbaugh fan. I was devastated when Harbaugh went. And I've watched some bad 49ers football at really ridiculously early hours in the morning in the UK. The Chip Kelly, the Jim Tom Sula games. The primetime games for us start at 1 a.m. So I know yesterday there was a lot of conversation about the Dolphins game being flexed. We were so grateful on this side of the pond because if it had been flexed, it would have gone from being a 9 o'clock kickoff at night to 1 a.m. So we were very grateful on this side of the pond that we were able to watch the game, but not have to take today off work.
Exactly. I know you are. And as you can see, I'm an early riser here on the East Coast. So I'm more in tune with like your timeline as opposed to ours. So I'm happy that it wasn't flexed also. Because it gets to be a struggle to stay awake for the game. And what do you do to stay awake for a game? Like when it's a prime time game?
So for me, I just power through. So if it's a prime time game, I tend to try and get the next morning off work, or at least go in later. But yeah, I power through and then I catch up on sleep for the rest of the week, to be fair. So I love the fact I've not missed a game. I'm one of those people, you follow me on social media. There's no way I could switch my phone off and be off Twitter for 12 hours and not know the score. So it's always easy to just power through. Plenty of coffee, plenty of Red Bull, plenty of caffeine, and then just worry about sleep later in the week.
Yeah, I'm normally like kind of tired, and then somehow the adrenaline kicks in. I'm on the edge of my seat, and I'm like, okay, it's game time, and I just power through as well. So I'm right there with you on that one.
So when the prime time games, what's great about our community? So obviously when the prime time finishes in the UK, it's like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I find it difficult to switch off, especially if we've had a good win. So what I tend to do is jump on somebody's, watch the shows. So, John V with the Locker Room Rant, he tends to be on some people's shows. Jason Aponte, yourselves. I tend to kind of absorb all the content creators, and then I crawl into bed about 6:30 in the morning. And then when I wake up on the afternoon, I catch up on all the tweets and all the messages that way.
Yeah, I remember the Monday night Arizona game. You were up, you were powering through, and I was calling you out. I was like, Paul, go to bed, get some sleep. You're like, I'm okay, mate. I'm good.
Yeah, it's a passion of mine. My good lady is very aware. Obviously, she knows what to get me for birthdays and Christmases. Like I said, I've fully immersed myself in this content creating game. Similar to everybody else, lockdown came in. We suddenly had this world where we were all connected in the internet. And I started doing a little bit more shows like this and getting a bit more comfortable. I'm always in the chats. Like you said there, me and you've connected on multiple shows on the chats.
Indeed.
And I remember that Cardinals game. You're like, go to bed. I was like, honestly, buddy, it's fine. And I love our community. I love the fact that we have this community spirit. And I'm sure we'll touch upon that about the Dolphins game. Because obviously when Jimmy went down last night, I think everybody thought, oh. But in Brock we trust, shall we say?
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Hold on. We're gonna get to that. Okay, you said your first item you owned was a 49ers cap. What was the first jersey you owned?
So I bought a home Kaepernick jersey. So when my journey started in the UK, I felt I was the only person in the UK that was into the NFL. So the Kaepernick jersey was a very expensive purchase because I wasn't fully aware of the merchandise and how to buy it. I've progressed to, I think I've got 17 jerseys at the moment. I've got multiple hoodies. I've got multiple hats. I pretty much rock red and gold wherever I go. I'm well known on this side of the pond for always repping my 49ers. So the first one, I get a residency hat. So obviously, when I got that, I was showing that off everywhere. And then a couple in the UK bought them because the residency hats are fire, but the cost of shipping is as much as the hat, if not more.
Yeah.
So they're an expensive treat for me. I've got two. The good lady's a little bit like, if you can get them a bit cheaper. So I try to alternate.
I know.
But yeah, I've got a lot. And as you can see behind me, I've got my glass cabinet with all my bobbleheads and my signed cards. And I've got a Nick Bosa signed mini helmet, which I got a couple of years ago. And Bosa's a huge favorite of mine.
That's a keeper right there. That's nice. All right. That's good stuff. Man, 17. That's quite the collection. Quite the collection. Woo. That's big time. All right. On my other show, East Coast Red and Gold podcast, we interviewed Nick Clark. And he spoke glowingly about going over to the UK, attending your watch party, and joining you guys, and how great it was. Can you give me your insight onto that collaboration and, what the watch party meant to you?
So, first of all, what a guy Nick Clark is. I watched that
He's
episode.
Awesome.
Obviously, I'm a big fan of yours. I'm a big fan of Jess. I've seen some of the shows, but you guys tend to record a bit later to me. But when I saw you drop the link for Nick Clark, I thought I've got to watch this one. So it works both ways. So the background, like when I reached out to you, so Lee Gowland is the president of the 49 NFL UK. He does an awesome job running the group. He turned the social media over to me about a year ago. This time last year, he was like, look, you seem to have a knack for it. You've got the connections. You run the account. And it was probably about just this time last year. I remember getting a message from Nick Clark. And I thought, is this real? The 49ers have reached out to us. So I remember doing the checks, and then basically he reached out and said, we've got the marketing rights. Can we arrange a meeting with you guys? So obviously the buzz on this side of the pond is like, oh my God, the 49ers want to talk to us. So we went into a meeting with Nick Clark.
Yeah.
From day one, he made us feel like part of the team. It wasn't kind of like he wanted the information from us and then he was going to pass it on. He fully involved us from day one. He was like, you guys live in the UK. He was very good about London. So you'll probably appreciate that London is the centre of England. It's where the international games are. But for me, I live in the northeast of England, which is about 5 hours away from London. And a lot of people don't go to London because it's expensive. So, like, for me, if the 49ers come over, international series game, I'll be there for the weekend, but it'll be just as expensive probably as me coming to the States. So we said to Nick, if you're going to have a watch party and you're going to do it just in London, it might not get the message you're wanting. And then obviously there's the tie-in with Leeds United, which is the Premier League club the 49ers are connected with. So Nick quickly zeroed in on that. So what we did is he obviously arranged the venue, he arranged the marketing, but we arranged kind of getting the word out there. We vouched for Nick Clark and the 49ers, for want of a better word. Not that he needed that, but from our point of view, we're very similar to John Chapman and Breezy. So for the last few years, we've had our own meetups. So when when the schedule comes out, the best game's a 6 o'clock game, like Nick said, because obviously in the UK, 6 o'clock on a Sunday. So we always pick a game and we always move it around the UK. So we've had some up in Edinburgh, we've had some in Manchester, we've had some in Bristol. So we said to Nick, the thought process is we try and move it around the UK so different people can attend.
Right. But as soon as experience it.
As soon as Nick Clark sprinkled the official 49er magic on, the interest went through the roof. Now, to be fair to Nick, so the first one was supposed to be for the Chicago Bears week 1 of the season.
Okay.
But when Nick landed in the UK, the Queen sadly passed away that day. So that was like the Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
So I'll share the funny story. This on the Friday, he called a Zoom call. So me, Lee Gowland, Nick Clark, and various others are on this Zoom call. And he was like, look, fellas, I'm really sorry, but all these months of hard work that we've put in, we're going to have to postpone it. So as you can imagine, we were all absolutely devastated. We had hotels booked, we had train tickets booked, and we thought, oh, this isn't going to go down well. But we went ahead and we had an unofficial watch party, which, to be fair, in hindsight, worked quite well because it showed the 49ers what the potential is. So we had it at the same venue, the same guest list attended. The only difference was Nick got to experience an authentic UK fan journey without the razzmatazz of the 49er official merchandise.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then after that night, we thought, they're not coming back till next season. And then about 2 days later, he jumped on the Zoom call and he was like, right, fellas, Falcons game. I was supposed to be in Atlanta. I'm coming back to the UK. Can we get this set up? So from that short period, it was just amazing. I mean, on the night itself, Nick, Ali, all the 49er staff, they made us feel welcome. I mean, you gave me a warm introduction there. I remember the first time I met Nick Clark, I was very English. He came walking in. I went to shake his hand. He pushed my hand away and he put me the biggest man bear hug that I've ever had. And he was like, come here, your family. Don't, none of this. And last night, Lee Gowland, my friend who's the president, he's at the game last night. So he's in the gold mine rush with Nick. So at full time.
Oh, nice.
Lee video calls us in the group chat. There's Nick in the background waving, cheering. So everything he said on your show, we echo tenfold on this side of the pond. And I mean, he had us on the 49ers Supporters Club. That was, that has to be one of the.
I saw that. That was
pinnacles.
Awesome.
That was just, you know, you get the email through to say the 49ers want you to host a podcast on their Supporters Club website. And then you look at the people who've been before you, Brad Graham, John Chapman, Wayne Breezy, and you're like,
Breezy,
wow. So, that's everything he said, we echo it. He's just such a top guy.
Yeah, he is, man. He's so, like, giving and forward. And like you said, he's like an old friend. That's the way he treats you. And that's kind of like our community as a whole. You know, it's like when we know you, we know you. It's like, get out of here. You're family. Come with us. We can do this. We can do that. It doesn't matter. And that's one of the great things of being like within the 49er faithful community. No matter who you are, where you're from, it doesn't matter. Your family, you belong, and we're all together. Um, excuse me. I know you had the watch party. It's for the UK, but how many people from other countries gravitated toward you?
So we had quite a high profile. So Crystal Secure, who I'm sure
I
you're aware
know.
of on
I
social
know, Crystal.
media. So again, Chrissy's been a great supporter of ours. So
Hmm.
when Nick Clark gave the go ahead, obviously I put it out on Twitter, and she reached out to me and she was like, "Is it open to anybody?" And we were like, "Yeah." So she flew in from Italy to
Yep.
partake in this. So we had people come down from Scotland, we had people from Wales. We would have
Wow.
had someone flying from Ireland, but they'd come for the first watch party, and then because it
Ah,
got postponed, and that's what we were trying to
right.
explain to Nick. I know the UK is a lot smaller than America, but still the traveling distance is still
Yeah,
significant. And
it's
when you have
similar.
a watch party, we make a weekend of it. You've got your overnight
Hmm.
stay, you've got your money for your refreshments and your food, and
Right.
so I mean, well, I first got involved in the group in 2018, and I travelled out to Manchester for my first 49er
Hmm.
Faithful UK watch party. And I think there was 9 of us. Then the next one, there was 12 of us. And what exploded it was the Saints game in 2019 when we beat the Saints
In New Orleans.
48-46
Yeah.
in New Orleans. Yeah, so we opted to have a watch party in Edinburgh for that one. And we were contacted
Hmm.
by 2 Saints fans, funnily enough, who were over from the States honeymooning in the UK. And they were like,
Ah,
"Can we catch the game with you guys?" I'm like, "Yeah, there'll be about 15 of us, 20 of us."
yeah.
Anyway, the local sports bar in Edinburgh, there was a couple of Packers fans there. There was a couple of Saints
Hmm.
fans there. They ended up being about 75 people watching the NFL. And that game
Wow.
was just unreal. And then obviously the footage you went on Instagram, went on Twitter, and then after that,
Yeah.
everybody was like, "Next time there's a watch party, we're coming." Because in the UK, when you're an NFL fan, it can be quite a lonely journey. So last
Hmm.
night, I sat down at 9:05 in my front
Yeah.
room on my own, watching the game. Obviously on Twitter
Yeah.
with you guys. We have a
Hmm.
Facebook group, we have a Discord group, but there's no better feeling than watching it in a watch party with other people. And being in the UK, soccer is number one. So normally on a weekend, you go to an English bar and it's got soccer on wall to wall. So when you take over a sports bar for the NFL and you've all got your jerseys on, you've got that
Yeah.
camaraderie of coming together. So the Saints game really cemented it. And then obviously with the tie-in with Nick Clark, the 49ers, people like yourself,
Right.
Breezy, Chapman, you've all helped grow our reputation. And for Crystal to fly over and be at our watch party, I mean, she is a big deal in the
I
49er
know.
community. So there was quite a lot of people surprised. Obviously, she came off her own back. I had a few people say, "How did you manage to get her to come?"
Yeah.
Sent her the details. She booked a plane ticket. She booked a hotel. She flew over
Yeah. And
with
she
her
made it happen.
fiance, who's a Patriots fan, but
Hmm.
we were trying to get him to
I know.
turn that night. I think he was very keen on the group, and it was just awesome. But yeah, so obviously I do Let's Talk Sports. They've let me do my own show. So I had my first episode last week, and I'm hoping that Chrissy's going to jump on with me
Right.
tomorrow. So that should be quite good. It was supposed to be a Jimmy G Love
Nice.
in episode, but given what happened yesterday, which we're going to get to, it might have to be a slightly different
Exactly.
journey.
Yeah. Yeah. You might have to tweak that. Yeah. All right. Okay. So you're a fan, started in 2011. All right. So here we like to ask, who's your 49er? Who's on your 49ers Mount Rushmore? Meaning your top 4 players of all time that you just love. If you have to pick 4, who would they be?
So QB, I'll get that out of the way. When I fully immersed myself in this journey, I did go back and watch footage. I've read autobiographies. I'm a Steve Young man, but I think that
Hmm.
comes from the fact that Kaepernick was my first love. So if I was picking
Yeah.
an all-time team, I've got QB is Steve Young. Next, George Kittle. We love our George Kittle on this
Hmm.
side of the pond. You've probably seen the photos of Club 85. He embodies
Yep.
what we love about the 49ers. So that's my second one. My third one, I'm going to go with Joe Staley because I just think he
Yeah.
was a great all-round 49er. And at the moment, my latest man crush is Nick Bosa. So I'm going to stick Nick Bosa on there. So there's my 4 for you at the moment. Slightly different viewpoint because I am trying to stick to, I've only been a fan since 2011, 2012. So that's my 4.
No, that's a very strong 4. You can't go wrong with it. You got your strong offense, defense. I got no problem with that. That's brilliant. I love it. All right. Let's talk about these 2022 49ers. What a season, huh? What a season it's been so far. Quite the journey. It's never a dull moment, eh?
No, we call it the emotional roller coaster on this side of the pond.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you take sat down last night, Niners game comes on, first 10 seconds of the game, Sherfield takes it to the house.
Exactly.
My phone started going crazy from non-49ers fans because I had talked a little bit of smack before. We were going to do this, we were going to do that, we're going to beat these Dolphins. And then 10 seconds in, I was like, all right, okay. It's going to be one of them nights, is it? So...
Yeah, it's like, oh boy, hold on now. This is not the way this was supposed to start.
I mean,
but they settled things down. It's like, woo, thank goodness.
So we're still on course for I said at the start of the season that we would go 13-4. So at the moment, we're still on course for that.
We're still on course. Yeah. Well, here's a big question. Here's a big roundabout question. With the remaining teams on the schedule, do you see us losing another game?
Given how I'm feeling after Victory Monday and how well Brock Purdy played last night, I'm very confident. You've got a defense like ours. 5th game in a row, we've kept the team to under 17 points, which in this modern NFL, in this pass-happy league, that's nothing to be sniffed at in my eyes. And the defense is getting better and better. I've been saying for weeks on the 49 FFL UK show how important Fred Warner's been, but Armstead came back in last night. And one of the things we've been struggling in was the 3rd and short. So we were giving up quite a lot of 3rd down conversions, and just having Armstead back in last night just slammed that door shut. So I'm very confident. I mean, obviously, you look at the schedule. Tom Brady's coming in next week. Tom Brady. I'm worried about the Seahawks game purely because since I became an NFL fan, the Seahawks have had a way of breaking my heart over and over again. And it's Thursday night football. It's up in Seattle. The division's at stake. The Seahawks have been better than any of us would have expected. I mean, I was kind of hoping the Rams would do us a favor last night, but...
Exactly. They were close, but they rammed
close
at the end,
But I'm hoping that the one that... if we have to lose a game, I'm looking at that Cardinals game, last game of the season, where I'm hoping that it's all done by then. We're already in the playoffs. I had said on my show, Brock Purdy, that could have been the game he came in, but the football gods that be have decided to give us Brock a little bit earlier than any of us had expected. But for me personally, I can see us winning out, but I will answer it a bit on the fence. This is the NFL. And one of the reasons I love this sport is on any given Sunday, any team can beat any team. It's why it's got such a big following in the UK. Some people say to me all the time, why do you like the NFL? Look at the Cowboys Colts game last night. In the 4th quarter, it was very close. And then I went to bed. And then I woke up this morning, it was like, how did they score 50-something points in it's just crazy. And, teams going into 1-score games and all the rest of it. But I'm confident we can win out. How do you feel? Am I being too optimistic with my red and gold rose-tinted glasses?
I feel the same way. I said this weeks ago after the bye. Like, I was looking at schedule. I was like, if we play our game, I don't fear any of these teams on schedule. We can win out and control our destiny, Even now, with James Arthur getting hurt, Brock coming in, we can still run our offense. I think we can even run it just a little better. Just from the simple fact that Brock isn't scared to make certain throws. So, and our offense is very quarterback friendly. Get the ball to the skill players and let them do the rest. Plus, with this defense, if you look at the Miami game yesterday, their 2 big plays came off of Hufanga's miscues.
Yeah.
He just was trying to do a little too much there. If we all play, everybody plays their role, play sound defense, that's a championship defense right there. So the Seattle game is the only one that kind of bugs me because playing in Seattle is very weird. The refs tend to look the other way on things and just weird things happen. But luckily, we basically have a 2-game lead on them since we beat them earlier right now. So, hopefully that'll play out in our favor. But I'm not scared of anybody on the schedule.
No. See, you mentioned Hufanga there. So on the 49 Faithful UK pod, my co-host Nadji, he's not a fan of Jimmy Ward, and he loves Hufanga. And I'll be honest, last year I didn't see it. I was a little bit nervous, but
yeah,
when you go back and you watch the tape last night, you're right. As soon as those two players, I was like, Hufanga's been over aggressive there. He's bit on something that McDaniel wants him to bite on. And that's what you get for me with Hufanga. You get those big players like the interception against the Rams, last week tackling against the Saints. But like you said, what you find in our defense with the bend but not break, Ryans needs everybody to do the job. And if one element breaks down, so the touchdown to Hill, I have a lot of people criticizing Mooney Ward. And when I watched it back, I was like, Mooney Ward's doing what he should be doing. He was expecting some free safety help behind him. And then when he realized it wasn't, if anybody in the NFL like you have to play catch up to, you don't want to be chasing after Tyreek Hill.
He's the last guy you want to catch up to.
but like you, I wasn't worried. And again, even when that first play happened, I actually turned because my good lady tries to watch the games with me, but by the end of it, she goes away because she even said to me at one point, "You do know they can't hear you." I was like, "I'm a fan. I'm going to shout at the TV. I'm going to talk."
Exactly. It's what we do.
So she came in and she sat down. She went, "They're getting beat already?" I was like, "Yeah, first play of the game, 10 seconds in." I said, "But to be honest, there's that much time left on the clock. If it was ever going to happen for me," and Ryan's has always been great at adjusting and making things right.
Exactly.
So, yeah, when you mentioned Hufanga there, it is definitely something that I think is a slight concern, but given how much of an elite player he's demonstrated, and like you said, they dust it off. What I love about our defense is they give up a big player like that and they don't worry about it. And the Dolphins I mean, they only had one trip to the red zone last night and they scored a field goal. So the other points came from, like you said, two big chunks where if somebody makes those plays, that doesn't happen. I mean, imagine if we'd only let them score a field goal. All the talk that we got this week about the Dolphins offense, and they're going to do this and they're going to do that.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Even their players, we're going to run all over you. And they ran for what, 38 yards or something like that? I know it was under 40.
Yeah. I haven't got the exact stats yet. I do know that I know Wilson had a couple of big drops as well, which I was a little bit grateful for. And Tua, I did think it was going to be better than what he was, but it just goes to show what we were all saying on all the content creator shows this week. Put the pressure on them, and they haven't faced a defense like ours. And a lot of people said, "Oh, who you beat? Oh, yeah, you got beat by the Chiefs." But again, you go back and you watch the tape, and it doesn't lie. I know we got beat by the Falcons and we got beat by the Bears.
Yeah.
The Falcons one was more disappointing for me because it was our official watch party, and Nick Clark was in attendance. And
it was a big event.
It was a big event, but what I love about our community is you dust it off. The game finished and we all stayed out and we still celebrated our love for this team. And last night, I saw a few negative comments when Jimmy went down. I'll be the first to admit I didn't know much about Brock Purdy. I was a little bit nervous, but Kyle let him throw the ball 37 times last night. And like you said, he played without that fear, didn't he? He was, like you said, he was making some of the throws. And I mean, there was it to Debo when he threaded that one in such a tight window? And I thought, okay, all right.
Yeah, that takes some cojones there. Yeah.
He is not Mr. Irrelevant anymore. This kid is Mr. Relevant now. If you're going to play like that, and like you said, our system is quarterback friendly. And when I was making my notes, because we record the 49 Faithful UK pod tonight where we talk about the game, you look at the weapons the kid's got around him. If you're going to become a starting quarterback in the NFL and you're going to pick like a Madden team, you look at CMC, Kittle, Juice. I must admit, I love that touchdown to Juice yesterday. Juice is an underrated player for me. Now, I like the fact that he ran that one in.
Yep. I loved it. I loved it. And when I saw it was on the fourth down play, like you said, Brock comes in and he's not too big for him. He was a little, you could tell, a little amped up at first, but then he settled down. And a big thing I took away was on the fourth down play where he threw the interception. He at least he threw it out there, gave his guy a chance, and it was like, okay, he's not afraid to throw outside the numbers. He's not afraid that when he sees a one-on-one matchup, I'm gonna choose my guy over their guy. And he took that shot. And I'm like, okay, that's a sign of a guy who's got some guts. If he gets some better timing, makes a better throw, that could be a different outcome. But that's the kind of, gunslinger leadership that we need. He's not shy. He didn't, seem frightened. I'm like, okay, let's support this kid. Let's see what he can do. And all he's got to do is get the ball to the playmakers.
It's a simple game
Like
sometimes, isn't it? Isn't it? It's a simple
Yeah.
game. This game we love, get the ball out. But another point that I did love, Fred Warner was interviewed after the game and he said, well, of course he's all right. He's been playing against the best defense in the NFL for 13 weeks.
Yes. Yes. And that's something we all talked about during training camp when we talked about Trey Lance. It's like when people talked about Trey's development and he's not ready. It's like, wait a minute. He's practicing against one of the best defenses in the league, some of the best defensive players in the league. He's got to go against Greenlaw and Warner and Bosa and Armstead on the line and Jimmy Ward and Mooney Ward out there, Mosley. You think this kid isn't going to develop and be ready on Sunday? Same thing for Brock Purdy. He's facing that same defense. It's a great situation to be in on both sides of the coin because you're practicing against a great defense with some great players around you who it all just benefits. So that's why I have, confidence in him going forward.
I mean, it was like the 2019 season. I remember friends texting me when Jimmy had that infamous training session and he threw 5 interceptions and everyone was going, oh, you can't have 5 interceptions in training. We got to the Super Bowl that year. And like you said, Trey, like Brad Graham, Jason Aponte, Jordan Elliott, who were all at training camp. I was plugged into all their content, living on this side of the pond. Anybody who's at training camp, I want to know what's going on at training camp. And like you said, I wasn't overly worried with the struggles, for want of a better word, that they said Trey Lance was having. I like that our defense would play him honest, like you said. And it just shows you how our defense has been this year. Yeah, it's the NFL. Next man up. You got to do your job. I mean, obviously, we're still in there. Victory Monday hype and, the Brock Express, as we've called it on this side of the pond. There's a few people already all aboard the Brock Express.
Like, all aboard.
But for me, you enjoy these victories. I'll worry about next weekend, later in the week. If we'd lost to the Dolphins last night, we'd have fully had people coming after us on social media, non-49ers fans, because we are such an awesome community. And I don't know other fan bases in the UK have what we have. And then you add to the awesome connection we've made with you guys on your side of the pond. I have no doubt the Dolphins content creators, the non-49ers fans would have been all over us. So I'm going to enjoy this one. Fully going to enjoy Victory Monday. And I have tweeted that out many a times already in there. So many hours since I've been away.
But yeah, I totally agree. I'm going to enjoy this Victory Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I'm not worried about the Bucks until Thursday, Friday, because what did we hear all season long just about this game in particular? Kyle Shanahan misses Mike McDaniel. The offense can't run well without McDaniel. McDaniel knows Shanahan. He'll know how to shut us down. All of that talk. And look what happened yesterday. We lose our backup QB, who was our starting QB. We had to turn to our third string QB. And we still put up offensively 26 points on them and held them down. So who's the real genius here? What's going on?
I am a fan of McDaniel. I
A
was
big
very
fan.
confident
Yes.
with Kyle. I'd called for a 27-24 victory before the game. I did think this Dolphins offense was going to cause us a few problems, purely with Hill's speed. And
Yeah.
Tua had been very accurate and he hadn't turned the ball over. So as
Yes.
49ers fans, we know, I got a lot of hate going into the Cardinals game because I said Jimmy wouldn't turn the ball over for the first time in 3 games in his career. And I got a lot of people come after me on social media for that. Of all the bold predictions I've made since doing this, that was the one. People were keeping the receipts. So I cashed those receipts in. And I was saying the same ahead of yesterday's game. For me, Tua likes to play a lot over the middle of the field, but he hasn't played against Fred Warner. He hasn't played against Dre Greenlaw. And it didn't surprise me yesterday that he turned the ball over. To be honest, I was like Dre Greenlaw. When Bosa knocked that ball out and Greenlaw picked the ball up, I wasn't 100% sure whether it was a dead ball or not. And I've seen footage afterwards where Greenlaw said he only knew it was a live ball because when he looked, he saw everybody running after him.
Chasing him. Yeah.
But I was leaping around my front room. I think that was just before midnight in the UK, and I was just like, that sealed the game. But for me, Nick Bosa, there's been a lot of people on this side of the pond critical of Nick because they wanted more. I haven't been. I think he's been awesome, but there's been a few people who wanted a big game performance, and boy oh boy did he put a big game performance on last night.
He delivered, and it's funny. I noticed something at the beginning of the game. They were double teaming him almost every play, whether it be a lineman in the back, a lineman in tight end. And then somehow, some way, I guess because they fell behind, they kind of went away from it. Bad move.
They were putting Jeff Wilson Jr. or the tight end on him, and Nick Bosa was like,
his first sack was with just the tight end and Wilson Jr. and it was so easy looking. He just discarded both of them and took them down. And people want that big game from him, but like I just mentioned, I don't know the exact number, but it has to be an extremely high percentage of the amount of time he's double teamed. I'm talking 75, 80% of the snaps, because there's always at least 2 guys on him. It's unreal, but he still produces.
Yeah, he's such a difference maker. I mean,
I
said to you, that collection, I got the signed Bosa. I won it in a competition, and then the start of this year, I'd been after a new jersey, but my missus was like, "You're not picking. I'm going to surprise you." So she got me a '97 Bosa jersey at the start of the year, and I was like, so. I'm claiming that as a bit of a good luck omen for this year. It's got nothing to do with it, but I'm claiming it.
Claim it. It counts. It totally counts. So, hey, man. So there's 2 things we know about James Arthur. He can throw the occasional wild pick, and he can be a bit injury prone. What do you think about him and how he went down and such, and how this season went for him?
I mean, it's a difficult one because I know there's a lot of people, Team Trey, Team Jimmy. First and foremost, I'm a 49ers fan. When we traded for Jimmy and he came in those last 5 games of that season and then we signed him the deal, I was all aboard. I bought my 10 jersey. I thought we've got our franchise quarterback. And when he went down against the Chiefs, second game of the season against the Chiefs in 2018. Third game, I just remember it being right at the start of the season. I remember it being like a 9:00 game in the UK. And I remember that sinking feeling of like, oh no. And I've seen a stat this morning. I think it's about 60% of the time, if you look at his tenure, he's had an injury of some description. And I think that's why we've moved on from him. I think Kyle Shanahan likes Jimmy. I think the team like Jimmy.
Everybody.
The best trait in the NFL is availability. And I think that's why Kyle, I mean, even last night, as soon as you saw that hit, you just knew. And my heart went out to him because he's balled out this year. I'm not saying he's elite before anyone comes after my DMs.
Yeah,
Jimmy
they
Garoppolo, he's played better than we expected. You take the Broncos game out because the Broncos game was awful. He was protecting the ball more. He was standing in the pocket more. He was going through his progressions more. He was actually leading the team. And I don't know about you, but back end of last week, I started to see a lot of discussion about should Jimmy come back next year?
Yeah.
I jumped on the Breezy show the other Friday ahead of the Saints game, and I did all my prep for the Niners Saints, and we spent 2 hours talking about Jimmy or Trey, and I was a little bit like, as a fan base, do we not move on from that? But I don't think we see him again in a Niners uniform now,
No.
unless he comes up even on a more team-friendlier deal than what he did this year. If he comes back, he's coming up purely as a backup and on possibly less money. But I was devastated to see him go off, and then the news came out last night. It's a foot injury. He's out for the season.
Yep.
And you just think it's a sad way for him to end. I had hoped he was going to ride off into the sunset with number 6 in the trophy cabinet, getting the money from another team, and then we could have
he would
moved
have got
on.
paid. Yep. Yeah. I'm kind of the same way. Excuse me. It's a little bittersweet, you know. I wanted us to move on from him. You know, I was excited for Trey, and still am. You know, excited to see what he can do and the different dynamic he brings to the offense. But I didn't want to see Jimmy go out like this. You know, um, it's terrible for him. I feel bad for him. He was playing well. I think he was getting better and better each week. Last week versus the Saints, I think he battled. They took some shots on him. I mean, he got hit in the head twice, like back to back. I still don't know how the referee didn't throw flags on those, but he stayed in there and battled. And, you know, to go down with this injury, it's like, oh, dude, you know, you feel for him. I think this will be the last time we see him in a uniform, unless he comes back and, you know, he takes that $1 to $2 million deal, like you said. You know, it's not going to be kind of a premium backup deal like we gave him this year, especially with us having to extend Bosa. It's not going to happen.
No, you'd rather keep Nick Bosa. I mean, you asked me how I feel. I have a good friend, Neil Watson. He's in the 49er faithful UK. He's Jimmy's biggest fan. He is the biggest Jimmy fan you can meet, but he's such a nice bloke as well. And he flew out. He was there last year against the Texans, which was Trey's first game.
Yes.
And he's due out for the last game of the season against the Cardinals.
Oh, wow.
So 2 years in a row that he's going to fly out from Scotland to Levi's. And I feel awful for him because I would have loved him because he has been Jimmy's biggest fan. But like you said, I saw a few tweets go out last night saying that was our season over. And I was like, you can't ever rule this team out. You said it at the start. This 49ers team, we don't do things easily, but none of us will change it. We love our team.
Yeah.
It's a journey of some description. In a way that the scene has been set for Brock. Can you imagine if it goes the way we all want it to go? Christ, Mr. Irrelevant story.
Can you imagine us winning number 6 with Mr. Irrelevant as the QB, you know, which can happen. And you know, I often have this debate, you know, like you said, people say, you know, if Jimmy wins the Super Bowl, he has to come back. And I always say, define he wins, right? Define that. Because is he going to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and take the game over and we win? Or is it a game like last week versus the Saints where he just throws for just over 200 yards and a touchdown or 2 and the defense totally takes the game over? There are different dynamics to it, you know?
It's a bit like the Packers games, isn't it? The Packers games in the playoffs. Jimmy hasn't defeated them. One of my favourite memories as a Niners fan is with the Vikings in the playoff run. That was a Saturday night game in the UK. Jimmy just handed the ball off. I don't think he threw the ball. Like you said, I've had that same conversation where, you win the Super Bowl, Jimmy's got to come back, and you think, if we're talking Super Bowl MVP, like you said, and he's balled out, and let's face it, 49ers fans, our level of balling out with QB is set pretty high. So.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a different dynamic. And, you know, like you said, Brock can totally run this offense and help get us there. You know, that's all we need. Help get us there. If he tends to ball out and take things over, hey, even better. I'm all for it. But, you know, back to what you were saying about how, you know, people are talking about him returning. I want you to think about this last 4 weeks, this last month alone, the stories we have heard. Okay, so in this last month, we've heard that in 2023, the starting quarterback for the 49ers would be Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Lamar Jackson was thrown in there because he's a free agent, and Jimmy Garoppolo. Why hasn't anyone mentioned Trey Lance? Why do you think that is?
I think there's a lot of hate because of what we gave up for Trey. Now, what's interesting, I don't watch a lot of college football. I'll just put it
Mhm.
out there. My
Yeah.
good lady lets me fully watch the NFL, do all the shows, but college football's on a Saturday night in the UK. So she was like, "Yeah, you're not watching that," which is fair enough.
Yeah.
So what I do is
Yeah.
when draft season comes around, I check in with people like yourself or John V or people who know college football. So the year we drafted Nick Bosa, I was hiring him because John V was hiring him because you can't
Yeah.
be a bigger Buckeyes fan than John V.
Right.
When we drafted Trey Lance, I have a good friend who's a Rams fan, and I've still got the text saved. And he texted me the night we drafted him, and he said, "That kid's going to be awesome in your offense. I'm scared." Now that's come from a rival fan. He had no
Hmm.
reason to text me that out of the blue,
Yeah.
and I've held on to that. And then what we did is when we went into the draft season, the 49er faithful UK, we all got allocated a QB. So I was given Justin Fields. So I went away
Hmm.
and I watched all the game tape. I went on Twitter. I spoke to people. I was quite high on Justin Fields. But Gareth, who's my co-host, he had Trey Lance. And he was like, this kid's something special. This kid is going to be amazing. And then I know
Hmm.
John Chapman was very high on Trey Lance. And
Yeah.
I think the easy way to answer your question is a lot of people want to see us fail. And for me, the draft picks, why is it that the Rams get away with this whole mantra of draft picks don't count? And then you see Dolphins fans coming after us saying, "Oh, thanks for the picks. You gave us Tyreek Hill, you gave us Waddle, you
Yeah.
gave us Chubb." And you're like, "No, we gave you 3 first round picks, which admittedly you've done well with them." But
Yes.
I'm like you. I was all about Trey Area this year. I fully got behind him as QB1. I really wanted him to ball out this year. And like
Yeah.
you said, maybe it's better for Trey that people aren't talking about him being QB1. Let them outside the building talk about Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Lamar Jackson. Let him get healthy. I mean, I don't know if you saw the footage of Trey Lance in his rehab.
Yeah. I did.
You know, he's an athletic, strong individual. His rehab
Yeah.
seems to be going well. I don't want to see us rushing back. I know there's a
Yeah.
lot of talk this morning about will Trey Lance be ready?
Yep.
Like, I don't want to see him rushed back beforehand
No.
because I think if he's rushed back and he gets injured again, a lot of people are going to do the whole, "Oh, well, you traded for this kid because Jimmy was always injured." But it was
Yep.
a freak accident with what happened
Yeah.
in Seattle. It was a clean break. I mean, not that I'm comparing myself to Trey Lance. 42-year-old, I ruptured my Achilles in January trying to
Oh.
play flag
Yeah.
football, trying a new
Hmm.
sport. I've rehabbed back to now I'm back running, I'm back playing sport. It's been a long journey for me. But
Yeah.
Trey Lance has got the top medical staff in the world behind him. And
Exactly.
I want to see the kid succeed. And I
Hmm.
hope a lot more 49ers get on board like what we do.
Yeah. Exactly. I feel the same way. It's a freak. It was a freak accident, just like Jimmy yesterday. A freak thing. When I saw it, I was like, oh, he tweaked his ankle somehow. Maybe it's going to be one of those high ankle sprain things or something. Then it was like he broke a bone. I was like, how? That's crazy. Like, freak accidents, and they happen. But I don't think the hate that comes around him is warranted, especially when he's only started 3 games. You
I
know.
think I think like you said, it's the draft capital. I think it's the fact as well that we are very vocal in the 49er community. So I know
Hmm.
on this side of the pond, my non-49ers fans, they see my Twitter feed, they see me on shows like yours, they see me interacting. And I think there's a little bit of jealousy because they don't have that. And the fact that we're plugged in,
Yeah.
we've got people at training camp, we've got people who are there watching the footage, and we want what's best for this kid and we want what's best for our team. I
Yeah.
maintain that we played the Bills a couple of years ago. I want to say it was either a Monday night or a Thursday night, and Josh Allen taught us a lesson. And
Yeah.
I believe that was the night Kyle Shanahan thought, I want myself one of them. I want a
Yeah.
QB that can extend plays with his legs. He's got a cannon for an arm. And I'm not saying a mobile quarterback. I'm not saying
No.
Kaepernick Mark II. I'm saying that was the night for
Yeah.
me that Kyle Shanahan thought, I want myself one of them. One of them QBs that can win the game. And that's why I went out and got Trey Lance.
Yeah, I agree too. I think he saw like this league, you need a quarterback with some mobility, not just a flat out takeoff runner, which they can do, but a guy who can extend plays and attack all the areas of the field, make throws on the run, do some unscripted stuff to help move the chains and keep the offense going. And that's why they did their research and went after Trey. You know, they played a kind of pro ready offense at North Dakota State. He was under center a lot. Kyle said, "All right, let's go get this kid," and there you go. You know, so I'm excited for next season to see him come back and see what he can do. But as of right now, like you said, we're on the Brock Express. We're
Get
on the
your
Brock
tickets.
Express. That's right. Get your tickets. Get your tickets. I'm just hoping that he stays healthy because we signed Josh Johnson
Yeah.
last night, and it's like, okay, I don't want to go to QB4. But
No.
QB3 is kind of the
As
extent.
I was going to say, we've been fairly fortunate with injuries as such. The NFL,
Yeah.
it's always injuries, and touch wood, we've been all right. But that was a good point that I think a lot of people are forgetting that we've lost 2 starting quarterbacks,
Yeah.
and I haven't seen too much doom and gloom. Obviously, we've come off a big win of the Dolphins.
Yes.
Obviously, Brady rolls into town. Again, the NFL love their storylines. I know Tom
Yes.
Brady's argued as the greatest of all time, not by 249er fans.
Mm-hmm.
We're never going to say
Exactly.
that.
Nope.
But Brock Purdy can outplay him next week. It's
Exactly.
another storyline for Brock and his journey. So
Exactly. So, we can be on the cusp of some very high highs, if you will, toward the end of this season. I'm sure there'll be a dip in there somewhere, but it won't be a big one. Because as you mentioned, this team bounces back. After every loss this season, they managed to bounce back. And now they're just kind of rolling. So that's what we want to see. Just keep the train rolling. That's all. That's all we ask for in this quest for 6. Number 6, baby.
yeah, well,
Let's go get it.
I've seen 2 Super Bowl losses in my time. So to go back to your earlier question, so that year when we got beat by the Ravens,
Mm-hmm.
the reason I knew I was a die-hard 49ers fan, the morning after the Ravens beat us, I was walking to work with my Niners hat on. And some teenage boys started heckling me, the Ravens beat you. You're rubbish. And I remember like shouting back over and being like, we'll be back next year. And I thought, there's a guy in the northeast of England shouting to some random strangers about the 49ers. This shows that I've got that affinity. And it's like now the NFL in the UK is becoming massive, and it's not just 49ers fans. So
Mm-hmm.
where I live, a small town called Middlesbrough, I was out shopping with my kids the other week, and my youngest has got Niners gear. We bumped
Yeah.
into a guy who's a Vikings fan, and he literally, as I walked past him, he went, "You must be happy with that CMC trade, are you?" And I looked at him and went, "Do you like that? Do you like that?" And he started laughing. And then for about half an hour, we started talking ball. But people
Yeah.
walking past us thinking, there's a guy in a purple hat, there's a guy in a red hat,
Red hat.
and they're talking about Kirk Cousins and Christian McCaffrey and Jimmy
Yeah.
Garoppolo. And he was like me. He was just like so blown away to bump into another NFL fan. We were chatting it up. We were talking football. Obviously, he was high on Kyle Shanahan. And he was kind of being a bit bullish. His Vikings are going to go all the way. And I like that.
Of
That's what I
course.
like
Yeah.
about. He was going to bat for his team. And
Yes.
But then he was like, your team's dangerous, man. He was like, CMC, Kittle, Ayuk, Debo. We hadn't even talked about Juwan Jennings because he'd been quiet up until that point. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, no, that's a great story. Thank you. That's awesome. How often do you just like randomly bump into another 49ers fan where you are?
So luckily for me, there's one of my good friends, Connor, who I met through the group. He lives around the corner from me. So we meet up quite regularly, and I've just signed him to my flag football team because you'll chuckle. The head coach is a Packers fan. There's 2 Seahawks fans. There's a Broncos fan. And there's the other one, a Saints fan. I remember turning up for my first training session after we beat the Packers in the championship game. I had my Niners hat on. I had my Niners hoodie on. And they were like, oh, no, not a Niners fan. And then about 3 weeks later, I brought another one. So, yeah, I'm quite fortunate. Lee Gowland, who's the president of the 49er Faithful UK, he lives about half an hour journey in the car from me.
Oh, okay.
So me and him meet up quite a lot in the season, especially with the way the group has gone. I don't know if you've seen the footage that I've sent out. So Lee's been out in the Bay Area for the last 2 weeks.
Yes, I follow him, so I've seen him out there. Yeah.
So the
Meeting
background we
Jed
found.
York and
We got the email off Nick Clark in April, March, asking if we wanted to come out to the draft in Vegas. And obviously, as I said, I'd ruptured my Achilles. I couldn't fly. I was like absolutely devastated. So I knew Lee could go. So Nadji went as well. We didn't think for a million years that Lee would get on stage and announce the Sammy Womack pick. So obviously, in our group, we were like, what more could this man do to top that? And then he's got out of the Bay Area. Oh my, he's like royalty. He's met like Nick Clark's been looking after him. And then on Saturday night, it was about 10:30 in the UK. I was just getting ready to put a movie on, and my phone pings Lee. All right, mate, can you do me a favor and just tweet this picture out? I thought it was going to be Chapman, Breezy. Opened my phone, Lee and Jed York. I was like,
yeah,
as you do. And he said Jed was with them for about 20 minutes. He said he was absolutely awesome. Yeah, he said he was really humble. He was really of the connection of the network. And that just shows you, going back to what Nick Clark has done, letting Lee go on the stage and make that pick. Yeah. Nick was checking in on my recovery. Nick has been a big part of what we've done. They want us back on the Supporters Club Live, which, to be honest, that has to be one of the most nervous things I've ever done in my life. Obviously, I'm chatting to you now and I know you. But when Nick Clark's like, right, press live, and you're like, oh my God, this is the 49ers website. So, but yeah, Lee's had an. If anybody wants to follow that, I don't know how it'll be, because I'm hoping to get out next year or the year after. But I don't think I'll ever top what he's done. But when I do get out there, I know I've got the connections with the people like yourself, and everyone's always said once I'm out there, I know I'm going to be in for the tailgate experience and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you have any plans to get out to Levi?
Yeah, so luckily for me, California is quite an attractive place to dangle to my good lady, and Lee's footage of the last couple of weeks has definitely helped, because obviously she knows I want to go to watch the 49ers, but when you do the background of California, San Francisco, and you show some of the touristy places, and
there's just wine country out there. There's a lot of attractiveness. Yes.
We live in the northeast of England, which is predominantly cold, wet, grey. We don't see the sun. She's a sun worshipper. So, yeah, I have definitely got plans. Obviously, I'm a family man, 3 kids, 9, 12, 15. So at the moment, it isn't top of our list, but it's creeping up. And obviously doing the shows that I do, and she knows how much it means to me. But yeah, I just wanted to put out there that Lee Gowland, if anyone's not following him on Twitter, you might want to start following him, because that guy's going places, I'm telling you.
He's rubbing elbows with Jed York. I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than that.
I'm just honoured to be on his speed dial list. I might be bumped off it now when he comes back. He might be like, sorry, who's this?
Exactly. You'll send him a text and he'll be like, who? Who? Do I know you?
But that goes back to show, like, I don't know, people might say, oh, listening, he's name dropping, but Chapman, Breezy, they've been awesome. They've really encouraged what we do. I mean, John flies our flag at his Rush Roadshow events. Nicholas Pariah, he sent me some videos over the weekend, and he's reached out to me. Like you said, after the Arizona game, you were like, go to bed, you crazy Englishman. What time is it where you are?
I was just concerned for your health. I'm like, wait a minute. Because like I said, I'm in tune with your timeline, because I wake up so early. And I know you get up even earlier. So you were up for all of these hours.
Yeah.
And then you're partying with us online afterwards. I'm like, he's got to be dead. He's got to be exhausted.
I was off work after the Cardinals game. So after the Chargers game, I tried to go to work because I hadn't got the leave request in. Because obviously when the NFL schedule comes out, I get my annual leave at work and I try and book as much in. But if the games get flexed or things move around.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get off after the Chargers game. So I think I'd managed to go to bed about 5 that morning. I was at work for 9. And I remember texting the boss saying, any chance I can finish early? She was like, have you been up watching that football again? I was like, yeah, it's a late night. So she said, when's the next one? I said, we're playing the Cardinals in Mexico City. She went, right, I'll book you the day off after. So that's why I was able to stay up, like you said, enjoying a live party. So then when I did crash, I didn't have to get up till mid-afternoon in the UK.
Right. It's awesome that your boss knows and is like, okay, we'll accommodate you for the next one.
Yeah. Oh, they all. I mean, last year, the laughing joke in my team was I booked the Super Bowl the Monday off after every Super Bowl because we always have a watch party.
Yeah.
And obviously it fell on Valentine's weekend. So all my colleagues were like, "Oh, aren't you so romantic?" And I was like, "It's a Super Bowl." Like, so when I wrote on the calendar February the 14th, annual leave, my good lady was like, "Super Bowl's on Sunday, isn't it?" I was like, "How did you know the Super Bowl was on the Sunday?" She's like, "It's fine. We'll do something on the night. It's okay." Because obviously the Super Bowl starts at like 11 in the UK
Right.
on the
So
evening, and then
late.
when
Yeah.
the break for the halftime show. So that's the Chiefs Super Bowl. I've not watched it back. We had
Me
a
either.
watch party. We had a local casino with a late license, so there was about 70 of us. And when the lights came on at 5 in the morning after that defeat, it was one of the it was just heartbreaking because obviously for so much of that game, we were winning. Number 6 was coming home. The atmosphere was bouncing. The celebrations were there. So, and what was ironic is because we have a Super Bowl party every year, we always have it booked at the start of the season. So that year when we got beat by the Chiefs, obviously we started 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. I think we got to like 9-0. And we were like, we've booked our Super Bowl party like months ago. So the guest list started going up and up. And then when the Niners got there, it was just like you said, that up until obviously the way it ended for 3.5 quarters. And that kind of ties in with your question about Jimmy. Obviously, if Jimmy had connected with Sanders on that play and we bring number 6 home, I think the trajectory of where his career might have gone could have gone somewhere different. But we'll never know, will we?
We'll never know. We'll never know. We just got to move forward, and let that go. And right now, it's the Brock show. Like we said, the Brock Express. It's all about supporting 13 and doing what we can to get him right, and still pushing for number 6. Like I said, the confidence has not wavered. I think he can still get it done. We as a team can still get it done. So let's go out and do it. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm all about that. I'm known as Mr. Positive on this side of the pond.
Yeah.
I always tend to call the Niners win when we do our predictions. Been quite good over the last few weeks with my predictions. I called a Fred pick last night. A few people are trying to take it off me because it wasn't Tua. I'm not having any of that.
Nope, it still counts.
I said Fred was having a pick in that game last night, and I said Tua would turn the ball over again. A few Dolphins fans laughed at me. I did do a pre-show last night with Bodkins and Johnny, who's a Dolphins fan. So Johnny had been on with Gina recently and Ted H. And to be fair to Johnny, again, like I said, the Vikings, he'd been given the talk. He was very bullish. And when we signed off last night, he said, "I'll just check in on you at midnight and make sure you're all right after the game." So he was the first person I tweeted, and I make no bones about cashing that receipt in. So he's took it in good humour. He's messaged me back and he said, the better team won. The defense was awesome. He's come away from that very negative on Tua, from what I gather, as like a few Dolphins fans, because it did seem strange that he seemed to be quite. I know we got the pressure on him, but he seemed to be emotionally involved in that game, didn't he? He was making some strange decision making, which as Niners fans, we've seen some of those throws. Some of those throws which were high and wide, you think, we've seen that over the last few
recognize
years.
it. We recognize it highly. And we know, story of a guy pressing, maybe a little too amped up, doing a little too much, we've been there. We've been on that journey a lot. So we understand. We've been on for a while, and I don't want to take up all your day because we could keep going, but we'll do it again on your show, buddy.
Oh,
how about that?
Definitely. I always appreciate when people like yourself reach out to me. I'm just a fan at heart. I got into this, like I said, during lockdown. I did my first show on the Shank Club. I was very nervous. I met Dion. I met John V. I remember my first show. I think I was on for about 2.5 hours. And when I watched it back, I think I spoke 4 times because I was just like a bunny in the headlights. But what I love about the community, everybody wants to see you grow. Everybody wants to see you support. When I was on the Breezy Show recently, people like yourself were in the comments and made me feel at home. And definitely, like you said, we've been on an hour and 5. We could be on another hour and 5. And that just shows you the love for the 49ers. And I'm thinking, it's been a blast. But yeah, we'll definitely get you on Let's Talk Sport. And it's finally great to actually meet you in person. As in, we've connected quite a lot over social media. And
exactly. Yeah, that's the great thing about this. We get to connect and just talk and actually meet, and it's wonderful. And like you said, we're a community, we're one, so it's great to get to come together as one and just get to know each other and talk a little ball. I have a parting gift for you. I made something for you. Yep, because you can tell your wife this was a freebie, but if you can
Club
see that,
85.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, baby.
I know that's your guy. Club 85 is your thing, so put that together for you.
Oh, I
So
appreciate that, man. So the
you can
Club
work.
85 started the 75th anniversary jerseys. We always find it better to get stuff from the States. So
Mhm.
the day of release, I was like, I'm not getting one of those jerseys. I'm not getting one of those jerseys. They're about $150. There's like $50 import charge, shipping.
Yeah.
And then the text started coming through in the group. And I was like, oh, I want one. I want one. So I messaged the missus and I was like, look, I know I said I wasn't getting one, but I'm getting one. And when I jumped on, there was a choice of Jimmy, choice of Fred, and there was a choice of Kittle. But then when
Mhm.
I went to press on Fred, it sold out.
Oh,
Obviously,
wow.
Jimmy was a controversial choice given the Trey Lance. So I thought, right, I'll get Kittle. I thought, right, no one
Yeah.
else will get a Kittle jersey. And then we went to our meet up in Bristol and it was like 85, 85, 85, 85. And it was a bit like a Green Bay Packers where you see all the 12s. And I said, you know
Right.
what? We're going to own this. So we got the flag. We got all the 85 jerseys and we held the flag up and we tweeted George and we said, the first meeting of Club 85. And when Kittle retweeted that out,
Yeah.
it was just like unbelievable. So that's where Club
Yeah.
85 came from.
That's where it
So,
started.
so thank you.
No,
That's
no
that's
one's going to get
amazing.
a Kittle jersey.
No, no. Well, like you
You
said, so
silly man.
he's still a popular choice. I mean, I got
Yeah.
Bosa. I finally got my 54. I've ordered the gold
Nice.
54, which in the Black Friday sales. But again, I'm just waiting for the shipping. I know I shouldn't do it, but it's coming from the States. But every day I'm like, checking my phone, checking my phone, checking my
Yeah.
phone. But it'll get here. But no, thank you. That's amazing. And obviously, I will rock that T-shirt with pride. So thank you
All
very
right.
much.
No problem. No problem. Well, Paul, this has been great. Well, thank you so much. And we'll talk again soon. All righty.
We will. Okay. Thanks a
All
lot,
righty,
buddy.
man. Thank you.